Dr. Urban here. I'm continuing my discussion of tissue oxygenation, which is sort of the end game, but I mean, who really thinks in those terms except for a few people? But what about things like what is healthy breathing? What is nose breathing, nasal breathing? Why is that important? Is it really important? And the answer, can we practically stop something like a dripping nose or a chronic cough by the way we breathe? Well, those are issues that we're going to explore today. First of all, this is for information, and don't consider this site treating a medical condition. Uh, it's not thorough in regard to all medical conditions, so if you're thinking about changing your medical regimen, please consult with your healthcare provider. But these are considerations, and there's considerable consideration behind them. Okay, so let's get started. What is healthy breathing? Well, it is better to breathe through your nose as much as possible at all times. Sleep, exercise, your walk around, breathing. When you take a test, when you're in a company meeting, it's better. You're going to oxygenate your tissues, all of them, but your brain, for example. And if you're an athlete, you might run just a little bit faster than the guy who isn't doing this. Well, that's the Buteyko method. We'll talk about that later. But that's where this started. The Russians wanted to use breathing to beat everyone else, and they had an edge. Okay, so let's get started and say that you're sitting there and saying this is all well and good, but what does it apply to me? So let's say you have a drippy nose or a chronic cough. Can we stop it? Well, I'm going to give you a technique. You take in, remember, shallow breathing, slow breathing is better. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take in a few shallow breaths. Then I'm going to exhale. I'm going to hold my nose, hold as long as possible until significant air hunger is there. In other words, you want to take a breath. I'm going to release it. And then I'm going to wait about 30 seconds and repeat it. I'm not going to do this on this video, but there you're going to see me go through kind of the first part of that, the holding the breath, the breathing, shallow, slow breathing, which you should be doing all the time, but maybe you don't. I'm still having trouble doing shallow, slow breathing more, but here goes. I'm going to take some breath. Oh, by the way, I didn't. You need to close your mouth. Well, I'm going to say good for me. I went to a count of 22 and I wasn't ready to take a breath. That's pretty good because I've been working on it. We'll talk about that number. What's the control number? But okay, and you notice my breathing isn't hard, but I'm going to start nose breathing. Now, if I wanted to work on this, I would repeat that about every 30 seconds times 5. You can do that in your class. No one can need to see you do it. But I would go longer. I would probably have gone another 8-10 seconds, which would get me out around 30 seconds pause time. Well, that's that lengthening of your breathing, and there's some things going on between oxygen and CO2 in the cells, and that's good. So, you have a drippy nose, you have a chronic cough, why don't you try that? And you'll say, well, it's a bunch of baloney, or you'll say, there's something to this. Now, you may be in a room that's dusty. Am I going to cure your cough or your chronic dripping nose with this, even though it's made better? No, you're still in the room. You're still irritated. But your response to the irritation has been muted. So that's good, what's that all about? Let's say, and it has to do with things like blood supply, oxygenation, constriction of the tissues, and now we're back at tissue oxygenation, having it work for you. So, what I would like you to do is practice your nasal breathing. I'll just give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to turn away here for a second and find my glass. This has changed my breathing. I used to gulp. Watch what I do. This is the way it used to be. And I would, but what is that? That's mouth breathing, not nasal breathing. It's fast, and it sets off my tissue oxygenation in a negative way. Now when I breathe, when I drink, here's what I do. I'm nasal breathing. Okay? Well, I'm going to leave you with that. Think about when you eat food in a hurry and you gulp it down. Are you nose breathing? Maybe you should chew your food a little more. Well, yes. How about sleeping in bed? You see commercials, saw a commercial last night for a snoring aid with the nose taped shut. I don't think so. I mean, you may cure snoring, but you're doing not so well for your tissue oxygenation. You get the picture, so I'm going to close here saying start your nasal breathing. Think about it. It surprised me how important I thought this was and how it made little and large changes. We're going to go into some more in other videos, so subscribe to my channel and we'll go through some of these issues. And I'm trying to nose breathe as much as possible.